Statics are tough because it is like, it's a very difficult balance. There is nothing wrong with people who want to just like play in a group of friends and like do that casually. Like some people use it, like some people raid as an excuse to just hang out with friends. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I think I was actually having a discussion with another friend of mine, because she had a very kind of similar situation. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to just hang out and spend time with friends and like wanting to play a game that you all like and that you all enjoy playing, but the situation changes when like you're joining together and you have an end goal. Had a good sack and people left from placements ending up making everyone quit. That is also a very dangerous thing that happens to you. Especially if like you wanted to do it because you're with those friends, but then if some people drop out and then other people like, yeah, it's a mess. I'm trying to word what I'm like saying like very specifically because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Like you said, people ended up joining in the group, didn't have a unified goal together, and that just won't last. Yeah, it's that where like some people just want an excuse to play together, and like the first 2 turns are like good for that. Like, oh, I want to play like with my friends and like we can work on this goal together. And like, yeah, we can just kind of like have fun and do it. I will say, usually first 2 turns doing that, fine. That's normal, that's okay, that's fine. This tier with N6 and the ad phase, probably not the tier to do that. But like, no, because yeah, it's different goals, because some people just want to hang out and like that's perfectly fine. But then you have people like me, because like I brought it up during it's just a recurring thing that I keep bringing up, because it's like, no, it's a problem that genuinely does kind of annoy me. And it doesn't annoy me because like of specific people, but it's like I like that mastery process. I like getting better at games. If I like something, I want to put effort into it and get better at it. That is just kind of the person that I am. And when you apply that to rating, when you apply that to rating, it's like, okay, I want to make progress in this fight. I want to make progress in this fight because if we clear this fight, we all benefit. We all have a chance of getting gear. We all have a chance of moving on to the next fight. We get to move further into the tier. We get better stuff that sets us up for later. If we clear this fight, we can get better at optimizing it, which means that we do it faster, which means that it takes less time. But if you have people who aren't like as serious about that, or who don't want to put that much time into it, or who don't want to just get better at the game, like they just want to spend time with people, that's it's not initially a clashing mentality, but in time it will be. I had a friend who got removed from her raid group, and like that really hurt like her motivation to play, because like, yeah, no, she wanted to raid and wanted to spend time with like her friends. A majority of the people in that raid group wanted to clear the raid. They were trying to do an ultimate, and like that's depending on the ultimate that you're going, that's a really hard thing to do. And like, you need to be able to perform at a certain level of skill in order to do that. And if there's somebody, especially now with these raids, like I keep saying it because I do mean it, I really do like the increased personal responsibility mechanics, because like, you shouldn't expect to be carried through raids. You shouldn't expect to be carried through ultimates. But when push comes to shove and like you're trying to get those certain goals cleared, when there's somebody in your group who's actively holding you back, like they're the ones that are making the most mistakes, they're the ones that like are the reason that you're wiping, or they're the ones that are often missing when you need a body check, it gets tense. Like it gets really tense because you're trying, like that's when the 2 goals are clashing together. Like you do want to spend time with your friend and you do like them, but if you have a serious goal that you want to achieve and they're kind of in the way, you have to decide, oh, do we just kind of keep doing this and keep wiping and keep wasting time and wasting gil on repairs and foods and potions in the hopes that we can carry them? Or do we just look for somebody else who might be more qualified to do it? And like, that's a really hard discussion to have, because if that raid group really does want to get that fight done, but that other person just can't perform, which admittedly, like, I don't want to say is the point, because that makes it sound like it's like a culling process, but like, no, the point of the raid series is to push people like to kind of like their peak performance. Like, you have to be able to perform under pressure, you have to be able to adapt and learn these new things that the game is requiring of you, and if you can't, then you're not going to clear. And when you're in a raid group, that's 7 other people that you're kind of holding back because you can't do what's asked of you. And that's a really hard situation to have with friends, and it sucks, but like that's kind of what raiding entails, especially when you're like at the last end of the turn. You have to weigh those options, especially if you really want it clear and you want those rewards. It's not a pretty situation to be in. You have to set up a schedule to do that consistently with people, because again, it's like these raids have lockouts of like upwards of like an hour and a half. So like you're raiding multiple times a week for multiple hours straight with these people, and if you're in there for like 10 hours a week with the same people and one person is the reason that you're all not making progress, some emotions bleed over and it's not pretty. Like when I was going through the raid list, you can kind of like, you saw like when I mentioned like, yeah, the raid group disbanded here, yeah, the raid group disbanded here, like, cause yeah, there's a lot when you get to the final turn. Like, it gets really stressful. Like, you've been doing all these things, you're learning a new fight, you have to perform at this really high level. Like, genuinely, you have to perform at a very competent level. Not only just knowing what the mechanics do, but also being able to utilize your class, being able to mitigate or rectify mistakes. It's rough. It's genuinely rough and stressful and exhausting. And in situations like that, tempers flare, and then like that can really mess up friendships. Like, that's when I keep running into problems, because I don't want to be in situations like that with friends, and then I also don't want to play just like, we're playing ranked and like, I want to try, like I want to put in effort with this. Like if we're doing ranked, I want to see like genuinely how well I can do, and some of my friends don't do that. And so like I'm constantly in this situation where it's like, oh, I really like this game, I want to try playing ranked, and then a friend says like 2 weeks later, oh, I want to play with you. It happened with Rivals, where I was playing ranked, I played ranked, I climbed, I got to GM, I got to like one of the higher ranks, and a friend said like, oh, well, I want to play ranked with you, and I had to tell them, don't stress out if you can't hit that rank. Like, no, it took me a while to get there. I like playing casual with you, we don't need to play ranked. And then they tried to play ranked, and then they got to like their plateau, and like it clearly stressed them out. You will hit a wall when climbing ranked, like that's the point of it. You're supposed to hit those points where like it gets harder for you to improve, because you find where your limit is, and you either work around that and get better at the game, or you plateau. And I don't like ever plateauing. I like pushing myself. I like seeing how far I can go. And I have a lot of friends who don't, and that's fine. I can't, like, those are two fundamentally different goals that are constantly contrasting. Whenever a friend says like, oh, I want to play this thing, or like, oh, I want to do this thing seriously, or like, oh, I want to play this ranked game. Yeah, it sounds fun to climb together when we can, but what do we do when either one of us outpaces the other, or one of us or both of us hit a plateau? Because like, again, if you're duo queuing and you're constantly losing, or you're constantly losing a fight because one person in your group isn't up to snuff, or like they're not able to keep up with what's happening, you have to determine like, okay, is it worth this stress? Is it worth like potentially yelling at my friend to make them like realize you need to put in more effort to get better at this if you want to improve, so that we can do this thing together? Or do you just scrap it all together? Which is why I just say, no, I'm not gonna play ranked with you guys. Or like, oh no, I'm not gonna play ranked with friends. Not because I necessarily don't want to, but I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to get to that point where like there's gonna be an argument, or there's gonna be a fight, or like we get to that point, like it gets so stressful that we start yelling at each other because some of us are just going to take it more seriously than others. And naturally, I think like a caveat to that would be like saying, well, why don't you just not take it seriously? And it's like, okay, the way that I don't take it seriously is that I don't play ranked with those friends. Like, I like having fun with my friends. I don't mind playing casual games. We don't need to play ranked. We don't need to have any type of RP or LP or any type of ranked points or whatever on the line. I don't care about rewards or like cosmetics if it costs me like my friendships. So I'm just not gonna put my friends in that situation. I'm not gonna entertain that idea of playing like something ranked with them because I don't want even the possibility of that thing happening. I'd rather just have fun with my friends. And that's why raid groups are really rough, because raid groups put you at that point where like the point is to find where those limits are and seeing if you can either exceed them or you crack. And kind of the point is that like some people are gonna have to make that decision of if they can exceed their limits or if they crack. And it's not pretty when like you kind of have to leave a friend behind because you and other people want to keep ranking up. It's rough, but that's also just like, again, why I just rather play casually with friends and have fun with them and then goof around. It's just not worth putting my friends under that level of stress. Especially like when I'm very hypercritical of myself, because then I'll get very competitive with myself and I'll go like, oh, I need to get better, I need to do this, I need to do this. Which then also typically means that like I'm the first to realize like, oh, my friend is doing something that they probably shouldn't. And I don't want to make my friend feel bad by saying, hey, you're bad at the game.